Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome back to the almost last part of King Kull. And as you saw from the thumbnail and the title, we're going to talk a little bit about two stories. The first of which is kind of weird because it is the last Kull story, but yet there's still more Kull left in the book, which means Lynn Carter's at it again. But it's the last Kull story written by Robert E. Howard, but it's also the first story he wrote about Conan, and that is none other than By This Axe I Rule, which would later be forged into the Conan story, The Sword and the Phoenix, or The Phoenix and the Sword, or whatever. And it basically is how... Let's just deal with the Kull version, shall we? Where Kull's been ruling Valusa for a while, but the nobles, the lesser nobles, are, getting a little uppity and getting a little tired of his the way he rules, which is a little more fiercely and less by the ancient traditions written down on the stone tablets that tell a man what he can and can't do and what the king can and can't do. And that just does not sit well with Kull. And the nobles devise a plan to slay him in the night. But in the backstory, there is a young nobleman who's in love with his slave and wishes to marry her, but maybe she's not his slave, she's somebody else's slave. But he wishes to marry her, and of course that's also not allowed. But she overhears some of the nobles plotting to kill Conan, and the two of them attempt to get this information to Kull, and unfortunately they don't get it to him until the last minute, where the nobles and a bunch of guardsmen have snuck into his chamber and tried to assassinate him. But of course it's Kull, that he wakes up just in time to slay most of them, and is more or less rescued by men-at-arms of the other noble. I forget his name, obviously. And they rescue him, and he declares and decrees in front of everyone that, by this axe I shall rule, as he smashes the tablet that says that the young nobleman can't marry the slave girl, and he declares that they in fact can get married. And that's more or less how that story ends. And it's also weird because even though it's the last Kull story and it's technically the first Conan story, it's also a Conan story that's set way in his future, toward the end of, I want to say, Conan the Conqueror. And a lot of things obviously happen between, but I think I'd like the Conan version better because there's more magic going on and a lot more. He really fleshed it out, but it works well enough for Kull. And it was, it's like Kull's catchphrase, "By this axe I rule," which, in the Kevin Sorbo movie, that's also how it ends, with him saying the line. And then the next story is, I honestly can't picture Robert E. Howard writing it. It's too new agey, too and I believe it says here that The Striking of the Gong was edited by Lynn Carter, I want to say in the mid to late 60s. It's a story where Kull wakes up in the dark and doesn't know where he is, doesn't even remember his name, and eventually he finds his way, sees some lighter patches, grayness, and eventually walks out into a terrace on the sun, and there's an old man wrapped in veils and gauze, and you could barely see his face, and they have this little discussion about the nature of life and death in the universe. And it's just really kind of psychedelic, metaphysical mumbo jumbo that I can't picture being something that Howard would would say or contemplate in the way that it's said. Maybe, obviously some of these ideas have been around for a long time, but it's just really weird. And the gong that he hears is actually back where his body is, and he wakes up, and Brule's there, and I had a weird dream, blah blah blah. And that was it. Kind of doesn't need to be here. It doesn't inform on anything, and it doesn't really lead the next story, which is Swords of the Purple Kingdom, followed by Wizard and Warrior, and then the last, and that's only a few short pages, The Mirrors of Tuzan Thune, and then finally the poem The King and the Oak, which I know Howard wrote. And I'll probably just jam all that into the last King Kull novel video, but I'll wait until next week because I still have more Planet of the Apes and more Kull Omnibus to do, as well as hopefully we will get back onto the regular Atlantis discussion we were having with Omen and other folks. But I am kind of waiting for Omen to get back from vacation, and maybe Bo will join us, and we'll see where that leads. But that's what I've got for you today. I don't know if I'll be doing anything later in the evening. I might just take the night off, or hang out with one of the other usual suspects. But I hope you guys have a great day. Hope you're enjoying Kull in one form or another. And if there's any other Atlantis things that you'd like to talk about, I'm thinking about getting the Atlantean issue 2, but I don't know that it'll be here in time. I'll take a look at that, because that was actually one of the more surprising and fun Kull stories I've read in a good long time, and it's still being written, and so it's new, and but it's really, at 18, 19, 20 bucks an issue is really kind of expensive. So we'll see, but more on that later as I step in it. Until then, happy trails.